So we have Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon by Pop Smoke. It's 56 minutes, 19 songs long. It's got some sounds. It has a fuck ton of features. So let me just name a lot of the features real quick. You have Quavo. You have a song For the Night with Lil Baby and Da Baby, which actually isn't terrible.
Baby on Baby Action.
You have Sway Lee. You have Quavo and Future. You have 50 Cent, Roddy Ricch. You have Tyga and Quavo.
Pause. You have Quavo times 3 because he's on here three times, which I think is probably one of the worst decisions on this album.
Yes, and I was gonna get to that, but by the way, my voice is dead for any of you asking or like, what? Why is Sean? No. It's because I yell for a living.
I think while it makes me editing the podcast to make your voice sound louder a little bit more difficult, I think the viewers and listeners will appreciate the sultriness that is added to your sound.
What am I?
The voice for radio.
Or Morgan Freeman now? What am I? Jason Bentley coming to you live from KCRW.
I mean, if you want to, just do it at a louder voice.
I know. I can't. The first song is Bad Bitch from Tokyo, and it's one of the worst intro things I've ever heard in my entire life, and that's saying something. Holy fuck, that's a terrible opener for an album. Aim for the Moon with Quavo, it's just boring. It wasn't that great. For the Night with Lil Baby and Da Baby actually wasn't terrible. What I was surprised about, the production on that song I thought was going to be absolute ass, but it was probably one of the better production songs of the album because Aim for the Moon with Quavo felt like the Fisher-Price beats, as I like to call them. The 3 songs after that, which were just with Pop Smoke, they were okay. Nothing wild. Creature, Sway Lee, I really did not like. I don't think Sway Lee and Pop Smoke go well together.
Free Slim Jimmy.
Also, super free Slim Jimmy, because I see Sway Lee everywhere. The fuck is Slim Jimmy, dude? He's the better part of Ray Swimmer. But anyways, because Sway Lee and Pop Smoke, their voices are completely different. So it didn't go well because you have Pop Smoke's voice. Raspy, really, really low voice. And then Sway Lee's super high pitch. It threw off the song a bunch.
And worse off, Sway Lee's usually known for like doing really adding
fast.
He has like sing-songy hooks onto songs, and exactly. Here he was like trying to rap more and trying to sing less, which is
not playing to his strengths.
You see, it's interesting. If only if there was someone like Sway Lee who was a better rapper, who could also have maybe a brother or a relative of Sway Lee of some kind, perhaps was in a band with. I don't know.
If only they made a band called Ray Swimmer, it would be really good,
Anyways,
Snitching with Quavo and Future, fucking A.
That was actually of the songs on this album, I think that was the better. I think it's
the best produced.
Of the 3 features, it was Quavo's best feature on here.
For sure, I was going to say Quavo's part actually wasn't terrible on it. I was like, okay, he's sounding like a normal rapper and not terrible, not like quality control Quavo. Future's part was just boring as fuck as always, but the production wasn't terrible either. It's funny, the ones that I figured were going to be terrible weren't that bad, but the one that was really bad was West Coast Shit with Tyga and Quavo. I did not like that song at all.
Yeah, Tyga.
It's like the bass is pretty cool in it actually, but the rest of the song, it literally has a chime that is going through the entire song and a tiny Fisher-Price piano that's going on the entire time. Like, it doesn't stop for the whole song. And it's like, we on some West Coast shit. Got some West Coast bitches.
It's, the usual.
The usual, exactly.
So what I would say about this album is that, if we take a step back and think about all the posthumous albums that, unfortunately, we've had to review posthumously.
Yeah, exactly.
From, Mac Miller to Lil Peep to Avicii to... There's been a bunch of them.
There's been a lot.
We just did... I think we did a Juice WRLD thing or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's been a release, but there's been...
We've done a lot of stuff, especially the past 2 years.
Yeah, it's like we basically started Audioface right when the sort of phenomenon of quick release, posthumous albums happened. Because a lot of times you have this artist died 10 years ago, here's some music they have. That's a semi-common
when we
thing.
Talked about that before in our opinions on it, so y'all can all listen to that for sure.
Yeah,
but anyways.
There's usually 2 ways it goes. One is a cynical cash grab by the people who are all around that artist looking for money, because unfortunately the only way a song is worth more is if the artist is dead. Which has been proven consistently. Pop Smoke is everywhere on iTunes or Apple and Spotify's charts. Or so it could either be that cynical cash grab, or it could be something where the artists who were collaborators with that
they had a backlog of, Michael Jackson had a backlog of music that wasn't released because he didn't want it to be released, but then the family did release it anyways without permission, which we've talked about, and I don't necessarily like, because some of it's unfinished work or whatnot, and it's they had it unfinished and unreleased for certain reasons. So for you to to release it when they're dead is kind of I don't like that.
But at the same time, if you have something like Mac Miller, where Mac Miller was very actively working with all of these artists on this project,
fine.
but
that's a little different because you have like art, like example, like an artist who like say who dies and it's like 10 years later then they release music. That's one thing. But I know with Mac Miller, it's like the artists work on this and it was almost done. I think Pop Smoke was similar to this because they already worked. That's why there's so many features on it. So to me, it's like this is an okay release for a posthumous album because they already, a lot of this work was already done and the stuff that was already going to be made was going to be produced by other people already. So it's his contributions to the album were pretty much done more or less.
Yeah.
So that's one of those where like it was going to be released like this anyways. He wasn't going to necessarily hold back or had like a saying like, hey, hold this back or whatnot. So that's one of the things I find that's okay to release in my opinion.
Yeah, and less so. Yeah, you definitely got to the aspect of what happens when that artist releases the song, and then what happens to the collaborators after that and what they do with it. But I was saying in my like thing with there are two ways to do a posthumous album. That second way means those collaborators actually realize that, okay, this artist who is leading this project isn't really here anymore. How do we best respect that artist and that artist's intentions to the project? And I think that, it's always a choice that has to be made. I think the production in this is one of the better of this year, and as far as trap goes, only because they didn't use, like they didn't overuse trap snare. They, it stays true to Pop Smoke style, kind of like, Wanna, which if Gunna's Wanna had come out after this, it would have been considered a lame attempt to be this album.
Yes,
because it's
Gunna's was similar, where I said it was a lot of bass beats, a lot of other stuff where you had instruments in the background, but very minimal trap snare. So I call it the bass overload, where you go to the hood and the dude's blasting the bass and it's just like those are these songs. Which
subwoofer in the back of the '80s caddy.
100%, and that subwoofer is like just bouncing, and you could see the trunk vibrating.
Yeah,
but I
rattling
actually
the lead off the paint.
Oh, that's rough. Lead paint's the best paint. But these are the albums I actually don't mind the most because the other ones that have the trap snare and whatnot, they're so incredibly repetitive to where I just don't like it. That was my thing with this album because like For the Night with Lil Baby and Da Baby, I was like, okay, it's probably going to be ass, and it wasn't terrible. Like the lyrics were really whack, but the production of it wasn't bad. Even the one with Future and a couple others weren't terrible. It's just the problem is a lot of the mixing of who goes with who, which pair goes with which. I think if you did that differently, then if you had different styles of different ones, then the ones that are on here would have done a little bit better because of that. The issue is that there's so many contrasting styles that it just there's no cohesion in that regard.
100%.
So it's not terrible. It's not the worst trap album. It's still not quality control. So it's not awful, but it's still not the best of this year because we've actually had some solid rap albums, some solid trap albums this year already. So but for a posthumous album, not bad at all.
Yeah, and I'll even give it to like. Yeah, Rip Smoke. I'll even give it to some credit. The song "Something Special" had kind of like an old school kind of flow to it, and it was produced kind of like an old school sounding song. So there's always this artist mystique of this artist was really doing unique things and they were doing something different. And that gets played up a lot more, whether it's true or not, when that artist passes.
X and stuff.
Yeah. I think it was a lot truer with Mac Miller and Lil Peep than it was with XXXTentacion and maybe Pop Smoke. But you do see a little bit of the producers trying to like take that experimentation, and I use the term quotes lightly because it's really just like calling back to older forms of what's not pop music to do in 2020 in trap. But calling back to doing that, I saw it and noticed it, so it was pretty cool. So yeah, overall, I think this album does a good job of like respecting the memory of Pop Smoke and does what this album would have come out if he were alive pretty well. But yeah, sad to hear about it. Arbitrary scale. This week is Meltdown Musk tweets. Anytime Elon Musk has a meltdown, usually happens in the summer, usually happens as a result of his numbers for any one of his respective companies. This time it's going to be the, I'm going to call this all the pictures of Elon Musk with Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's mistress that Elon Musk is currently flipping out over appearing by and having all these pictures of him floating around because he might be in the ring, allegedly. This picture.
This is the tweet. This is when Elon Musk had the audacity to respond to Dan's tweet a few years ago. when Dan said you need to guillotine him, and he's like, why? Because he got butt hurt from Dan, and the dude
2 years ago this month.
2 years ago this month, yes, this month. The fact that a multi-billionaire got fucking butt hurt by Dan is beyond hilarious. It's still like is the reason why I'm alive today. Half the time, it's just like that tweet just makes me happy.
Just keeps you going.
Some days when it's a bad day, I just gotta scroll back, or I could just look it up, be like,
how long till Elon Musk gets the guillotine?
how long till Elon? There we go. That was how long till Elon Musk gets the guillotine? He replied, and that was hilarious.
Not soon enough. Anyways,
Chippity chop, hippity hoppity.